tomorrow, and Thursday temple program. So Maharaj is direct disciple of Srila Prabhupada. He was born in 1947, but he met Prabhupada, ISKCON devotees in 1973 in Denver, and then he also met Prabhupada later in New York. He got initiated from Prabhupada in 1997, and ever since he was preaching. And then 86 he took sannyas initiation. Then he was living in Chicago. Then later on he was also working in prison ministry. Those who doesn't know prison ministry, he write and communicate to the devotees there and inspire the devotees and the inmates, and then many of them became devotees. So that was 90. Then later on he started preaching Eastern Europe, Lithuania, London, many other places. Now he travels around the world. He was telling me on the way back here, he lives 6 months in India and travels, mostly based in Ujjain, and then now he's traveling years. He's also initiating spiritual master, has many disciples. A couple of them are here also. He's also a writer, and then books. He has 2 books right now available here. If you're interested, you can take a look. Journey Diary and Krishna's Way here. This is go for donation. You can see me or Mataji there, sitting there. Let's give it a round of applause to Maharaj one more time. I think we can do much better than that.
Timirandasya Ganajana Salakaya Chaksavrunmilitam Yena Tasma Shri Maha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayamrupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shigaro Shigata Padikamalam Shigarum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sabrajatam Sahagana Bhaganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarvabhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namastate Bhakta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Stuti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Pancha Kalpa Tarupescha Kripa Sindhu Behevacha Adidanam Bhavane Vyo Vaishnave Vyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Happy to be here. This is a place where I feel like I spent a good part of my Krishna consciousness.
One more thing I forgot, he was a temple president in Columbus. 1990.
That was by default. But somehow or other, we got it. So there's this nice section in the Srimad Chaitanya Charitamrita about the glories of the holy name, and it gives a little deeper insight on how we can go deeper and also perfect our chanting in the holy name. This is one verse from chapter 8 of Ali Leela, verse number 31. The chapter is entitled The Author Receives the Orders of Krishna and Guru. The author is, of course, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. So I'll read the Sanskrit. This is chapter 8 of Adi Leela, verse number 31. Chaitanya Nityanande Nahi Esa Vichar Nama like the Prema Dena Viha Asradar Translation. If one only chants with some slight faith the holy names of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, very quickly he is cleansed of all offenses. Thus, as soon as he chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, he feels the ecstasy of love for God. I'll read it again. If one only chants with some slight faith the holy names of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, very quickly he is cleansed of all offenses. Thus, as soon as he chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, he feels the ecstasy of love of God. So there's a purport, and it's a little bit long, so I'll try to read and then maybe explain as we go through the purport. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati remarks in this connection that if one takes shelter of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda, follows their instructions to become more tolerant than the tree, humbler than the grass, and this way chants the holy name of the Lord, very soon he achieves the platform of transcendental loving service to the Lord, and tears appear in the eye. So it sounds quite a very strong, powerful statement that simply by taking shelter of Gauranga and Nityananda, one can actually develop the qualities for chanting the holy name, as it's mentioned here. Lord Chaitanya has penned 8 verses. They are known as Shikshastikam. And the 3rd verse is Trinadapi, Sarichena, Tayor Iva, Sayishnuna, Manadena, Kirtani Asadanahi. Sada means always. So one practices these qualities, and by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, one can achieve these qualities. Then one can chant continuously. There are offenses to be considered in chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, but there are no such considerations in chanting Gaur Nityananda. Therefore, if one chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, but his life is still full of sinful activities, it will be very difficult for him to achieve the platform of loving service to the Lord. But if in spite of being an offender, one chants the holy names of Nitai Gaur, he is very quickly freed from the reactions of his offenses. Therefore, one should first approach Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, or worship Guru Gauranga, and then come to the stage of worshipping Radha and Krishna. There's a process that makes the results come by way of following this process very nicely. So one has to take shelter of Guru, and of course Gauranga. Gauranga is also, he's Prem Guru. He teaches the essence of the chanting of the holy names of the Lord in the mood of worshipping Radha and Krishna. In our Krishna conscious movement, our students are first advised to worship Guru and Gauranga, and then when they are somewhat advanced, the Radha Krishna deity is installed and they are engaged in the worship of the Lord. It's not so easy to approach Radha and Krishna unless you are actually on the purified platform. But even if you're not on the purified platform, you can approach them through the mercy of Guru and Gauranga. And here it says, of course we understand that Lord Nityananda he's considered to be Adi Guru. He is Guru Tattva. He teaches the process of worship of the Supreme Lord by taking the role of the spiritual master and serving the Lord Chaitanya in the mood of the pure devotee. One should take shelter of Gaura and Nityananda in order to reach ultimately Radha and Krishna. Srila Narottam Das Thakur sings in his connections, Gauranga baliti habe, pulaka sarira, hari hari baliti nayam, babe nira, ar kabe nitai chandir karuna karibe, samsara vasana mula kabe tuja habe, vishaya chadiya kabe sura habe man, kabe hava harera Sri Vrindavan. In the beginning, one should regularly chant Sri Gaur Sundar's holy name, and then chant the holy name of Lord Nityananda. Interesting. Thus, one's heart will be cleansed of impure desires for material enjoyment. So as long as we are still chasing after the ephemeral happiness of this material world, we cannot approach the absolute truth with sincere feeling. Then, if one somehow or other, by the mercy of Gaur Nitai, becomes somewhat cleansed of this desire for material enjoyment, then Bhaktisiddhanta goes on to say, then one can approach Vrindavan Dham to worship Lord Krishna. Unless one is favored by Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, there is no need to go to Vrindavan. For unless one's mind is purified, one cannot see Vrindavan even if he goes there. It seems to be just an ordinary tract of land. But if one has spiritual vision, or at least slightly purified, they can enter into the mood of Vrindavan, and as that mood develops, one can understand the pastimes of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. Continue. Actually, going to Vrindavan involves taking shelter of the 6 Goswamis by reading Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Vidangi Madhava, Lalita Madhava, and other books that they have given. In this way, one can understand the loving affairs between Radha and Krishna. Kabe Hame Bujahe Sri Lugala Pariti. The conjugal love between Radha and Krishna is not an ordinary human affair. It is fully transcendental. In order to understand Radha and Krishna worship, in order to understand Radha and Krishna, and to worship them and to engage in their loving service, one must be guided by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda, and the 6 Goswamis, Lord Chaitanya's direct disciples. So it says, Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Sri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahi Anya. That Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the manifestation of the mood of Vrindavan in the service of himself from his position as the pure devotee. So he takes the role of the pure devotee, which is his internal energy, Srimati Radharani. This is the one that you need to work on. This. Loosen it. Loosen it.
Oh, loosen it?
Yeah. Now tighten it. Okay, that'll stay. There you go. And so if we take shelter of Lord Chaitanya, he is in the mood of Vrindavan, and he's teaching the principle of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra without offense. And that way we can approach Krishna in Vrindavan, which is actually the goal. The goal of this Krishna conscious movement is actually Prema Pumarta Mahan, to awaken our natural love for Krishna. To love Krishna is naturally, and that natural love is covered by the desire to enjoy this material world. As soon as we give up that desire, although we may still have that desire in our heart, but not trying to fulfill that desire, then we can get the mercy of Gaur Nitai. As long as we're still chasing material happiness, which is ephemeral, it comes and goes, it's not something that is actually what we say, something you can go deeper into, because material happiness is based on the connection of the mind, the senses, and the objects of the senses. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yehi samsparsa jabhoga, dukkha yamnaya evate avanta vanta kunte anateshu brahmate buddha. That sense gratification is the source of suffering. Although it appears to give some temporary relief from some feeling of anxiety or desire for happiness, it leaves one ultimately, in what we say, in a more entangled position, trying to struggle to find happiness. So one should give up the desire, although maybe the principle of desire still lies within the heart of the practitioner. If you don't chase after it and you take shelter of Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya, gradually that desire starts to dissipate, and eventually it's gone in due course of time. So, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati goes on, for an ordinary man, worship of Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu, or the Panchatattva, is easier than worship Radha and Krishna. Unless one is very fortunate, he should not be induced to worship Radha Krishna directly. Interesting. A new or neophyte devotee who is not sufficiently educated or enlightened should not indulge in the worship of Radha and Krishna or the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, Haribol. That sounds revolutionary. We're encouraging everyone to chant, even people, new people. Now it says, a neophyte devotee who is not educated in the process should not even chant Hare Krishna. So in other words, preliminary education establishes one to develop the qualities to approach the holy name without that education. And previously in the verses that we had, came before this verse, talks about avoiding offenses. It talks about avoiding offenses. Even if one does so, he cannot get the desired result. In other words, even if one chants the Hare Krishna mantra, and he's not getting sufficient education in the process of chanting, his chanting won't give him any result. One should therefore chant Nitai Gaur, Haribol, and worship them without false prestige. In other words, not trying to gain something. Since everyone within the material world is more or less influenced by sinful activities, what are sinful activities? Disobedience of the laws of God. That's simple, a simplified definition of sinful activities. That those things that is called, the word is aparad. The word aparad precedes APA, then you have the word radha. So radha means pure devotion, and apa means against that. So that which is against devotion is actually considered to be sinful. That's a broader definition of sinful activities. Generally, we understand sinful activities to be a specific way of acting and getting a results based on that. But here, it's a broader definition. Anything that does not connect with Krishna, in other words, material activities, cause simple reactions automatically. Pretty heavy, huh?
Yeah.
Think about it. So this verse, this purport is not cutting any slack here. Since everyone in the material world is more or less influenced by sinful activities, in the beginning it is essential that one take to the worship of Guru Gauranga and ask for their favor. So we're coming back to the same point. Worship Guru Gauranga, worship Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya. For thus, despite all of disqualifications, whatever disqualifications one may have, one will very soon become qualified to worship the Radha Krishna Vigraha, the deities. It should be noted in this connection that the holy names of Lord Krishna and Gaura Sundar are both identical with the personality of Godhead. Therefore, one should not consider one name to be more potent than another. Just like one thinks, well, Nityananda, he's not as good as Gauranga. But actually there's no difference, because Brajendra Nandanaye, Sachi Sutta Hoilo say, Balaram Hoilo Nitai. So who are these Guru and Gaurangas? A lot of people who come from the peninsula, or you might say the continent of India, have little understanding of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. Many of them think mistakenly that they are simply maybe very powerful personalities, or maybe a incarnation, but actually they are the Supreme Lord himself. It's not an incarnation, it is Krishna in his full form as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with his transcendental brother, Lord Balaram. And now they come in a more merciful form. What is that mercy? Is that they don't accept offenses. And they invite everyone into the process of Krishna consciousness, no matter what their qualifications or disqualifications are. But to approach Krishna, like when Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, before you can actually get my mercy, you better surrender first. He says, Sarva Dharma Parikshitya Mame Kam. Guru Garanga doesn't say anything about that. They say, just chant Hare Krishna. And they give you a little bit more, but we'll mention that. Therefore, considering the position of the people of this age, however, the chanting of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's name is more essential than the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is most magnanimous incarnation, and his mercy is easily achieved. Namo Mahavidanaya, Krishna Prema Padayate, Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauranga. This verse, spoken by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, indicates the unlimited mercy of Lord Chaitanya. And then it goes on to say, therefore, one must first take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by chanting Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. By serving Gaur Nityananda, one is free from the entanglement of material existence and thus becomes qualified to worship Radha and Krishna. So this is interesting. So a lot of people are unaware of the position of Gaur Nitai and think that we can go directly to Radha and Krishna, but not in this age. Specifically, Gaur Nitai are placed because in this age, Manda Sumanda Mateo Manda Bhagi Padrataha, people are not so qualified for spiritual activities. The qualifications in this age are focused more or less on material development, such as finding different ways to make money, to put it in a very simplified way, or finding different ways when we can enjoy sense gratification. So that's the people are expert in this age, and therefore this age is considered to be, as it says, Kalir Dosha Nidhi Rajan. It's an age which is full of material faults. But again, the bright light is the holy name of the Lord. But the approach to the holy name of the Lord, the formula is given here in this age, that the giver of the holy name, the one who brought the holy name, which is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, people in previous ages also were aware of the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But because it wasn't what they say, the Yuga Dharma, the means of self-realization, they didn't focus so much on that. They focused on their particular Dharma for that age. And of course, every age has a particular Dharma, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga. Each one. Satya Yuga is the Astanga Yoga system. Treta Yuga is Agnihotra. And Dwapara Yuga is Pancharatriki Vidhi, or Wadidi worship. But in this age, people cannot perform those activities of the previous age because the qualifications are not there. The age is bad. People's disqualifications are just simply due to the age we live in. It's just what it is. People say, well, why is it like that? It's like saying, why is it cold in the wintertime? Because it's winter. So this is this age. So therefore, Mahaprabhu is, he's considered Kali Yuga Pavana, Kali Boyanasana, Sri Satchinandana Namrai. He chases away Kali very quickly by his mercy. And his mercy is to chant the holy names of the Lord, and then he gives another principle which supports our chanting of the holy name, and that is to associate with and to serve Vaishnavas, which is also almost as equally as important as chanting, because it supports the chanting. So in association of Vaishnavas, the mood is to serve the Vaishnavas. And in that mood, one receives the mercy of the Lord. And then he has a third one. That is called Jivadoya. And to put it in a very simple word, give Krishna consciousness to others. In other words, whatever mercy you have received by your own practice of devotional service, share that with others in whatever way you can, according to your particular situation. But everyone can. There's an example. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was here, he would travel. And he traveled practically the entire subcontinent of India. He left the area of Jagannath Puri after being there for 6 years, and went traveling throughout South India. He crossed over India, went to Mumbai, the area of Mumbai, and then, it wasn't Mumbai then, it was a different name. Can't remember the name of Vyas. Do you remember the old name of Mumbai? It's Vyas.
Ancient name?
Yeah.
Before
I think it's something like
Bombay.
Vyapiyano, something like that. Yeah, even before Mumbai.
it's from Maharashtra.
Before Bombay. Before Bombay.
Before Mumbai, there was another name.
Before Mumbai was Bombay. Before-
Bombay.
Before
Britishers gave it Bombay.
Bombay.
Bombay, yeah. But then I think it's called Vaipayana, and that was the ancient name. So that is during the time of Lord Chaitanya. He crossed into that area, and then he went down the western side, and all the way to Cape Comorin, came back up, and then he went back to Jagannath Puri. That was 6 years. So he spread Krishna consciousness everywhere, and he visited many holy temples. And during that time of his trek, he stopped in one place called Kumakshetra. And in Kumakshetra, he was met by one Brahmana. The Brahmana was known as the Kurma Brahmana. He was a very, to use the word, Paka Brahmana. That means he had all good qualities as a Brahmin. He was a family man, and he invited Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to come to his home and stay while he was in Kumakshetra. So the Lord agreed, and he stayed for 4 days. And during that time, the Brahmin served so nicely. He developed such a strong attachment to the Lord, and he used his whole family. They were serving the Lord completely throughout the 24 hours of the day when the Lord was there for 4 days. After 4 days, the Lord decided to continue on with his journey. So he started to go, leaving. And when the Lord wants to leave, he leaves. Sometimes he doesn't say goodbye, he just goes. That's his mood. And the Kurma Brahman was a little unhappy, not a little, very unhappy, that the Lord was leaving. So he decided to go with the Lord, and he started following. The Lord noticed that he was being followed by the Kurma Brahman, so he stopped. He said, "Where are you going?" "I'm going with you." "You can't do that. What about your family?" And then he said a few words like, "Forget that, I'm not going back there." And the Lord says, "You can't do that. You have your responsibility. Stay with your family. But if you want my association, then you can do 2 things." And then he said, "By my command, be Guru, save the land." He said, "Whoever you meet, tell them about Krishna. Tell them about the process of devotional service. Wherever you meet, teach them to chant Hare Krishna." And he said with such emphasis, "And if you do that, you'll never lose my association." So what he was saying is, this is why I have come, to spread the glories of the holy name. So please, you can assist me in doing that. And if you do that, then you're always with me. You're always with me. So he was teaching in a general sense that this is the principle of how to serve the Lord also, is to give the mercy of the Lord to others. And then that way one will be recognized and very much blessed by the mercy of the Lord. And then when one sits down and chants, they can actually chant the Hare Krishna mantra. This is the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Mahaprabhu is, we can't understand how merciful is. Srila Prabhupada would speak about him. And there was one particular incident in Srila Prabhupada's preaching, and this was in America, in 1975 at the end of February. Prabhupada came to the Atlanta, Georgia temple. And devotees had heard about Prabhupada's arrival, so they came from different places all over America to see Prabhupada. So the temple was packed, and Prabhupada came right around the time of the Sunday program. So he came in, and of course, devotees were, so happy to see Prabhupada, and there was enthusiastic kirtans, and everyone was jumping, crying, rolling. And Prabhupada had that Shakti that when just by seeing him, people would cry. Would cry out of happiness, because here they understood his personality is, he just opened up their hearts just by his presence. And so Prabhupada came in, and he sat down on the Vyasa-san, and he asked for a pair of kartals, and he started to chant. And everyone was listening. Parama Karuna, Bahudui Jani, Nitai Gaura Chanda, Sabaya Batara, Sarvasiromeli, Kevalaya Ananda Kanda. Prabhupada didn't get very far. At one point, he just stopped, dropped the kartals, closed his eyes, and then it was complete silence in the whole temple. And it was described that it only lasted for a couple minutes, but it seemed like a year. Prabhupada went into deep meditation on the mercy of Gaura Nitai, because in that particular temple, the main deity is Gaura Nitai. They are in the center altar. And you have Radha Krishna on this side, on the right, looking at the temple, and you have Jagannath on that. So Gaura Nitai is the main deities. Beautiful brass deities, quite big. So Prabhupada went into this ecstasy, just thinking. And then at one point, he opened his eyes and he said, "They are so kind. They are so kind. They are so kind." He repeated it over and over. And then he couldn't speak. His heart was so much overwhelmed with feeling the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and how kind they were in distributing Krishna prema to everyone and anyone, even despite their disqualifications. And then Prabhupada said, "All right, just have kirtan." He couldn't even talk. So, of course, Prabhupada didn't do that often, but this was something that was beyond his control. His emotions just became so strong. But he's always glorifying Lord Chaitanya. I was just listening today, Prabhupada said, "You should always chant Nitai Gaur." I was listening, he was saying, "Chant Nitai Gaur always. Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur." He was doing it himself. Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur. Some people might think you're a little off, but we don't care. No, we what we're doing. Because Nitai, that opens up the door to bhakti, and it opens up the mercy of Radha and Krishna, as it says here over and over in this explanation. In order to approach even the worship of Radha and Krishna, one has to approach them through the mercy of Gaur. So when we chant our japa, it is explained that one should first begin by chanting Sri Krishna, Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavid. Then one can approach Krishna to the holy name. Some people say we should chant at the beginning of every round. Others say you just have to chant once. Nobody knows what is the standard, but at the least it says once seems to be sufficient in order to remember Gaura Nitai. By remembering Gaura Nitai, we can actually understand, because who is Lord Chaitanya? He is Krishna, but he doesn't have the mood of Krishna. He has the mood of his pure devotee, who is serving Krishna, and that is Srimati Radharani. So he's called Gauranga, which is Gaura, means golden, and Anga means limb. So his body is golden, and his limbs are, he's known as Gauranga, but Radharani is known as Gaurangi. She's also like, so he has adopted her color and her mood of devotion in his practice of Krishna consciousness, just to teach us what is pure devotional service from the position of a student rather than from the position of the Lord. It's a really amazing incarnation when we think about it. So sometimes we kind of like skip over Gauranitai, but please don't do that if you really want the mercy of the chanting of the holy names. There are some devotees who actually chant. Of course, it's not recommended, or not. That's not that it's not recommended. It's just not so much emphasized at all. There are people who chant Panchatattva mantras on their beads. In other words, they chant 4 or 5 rounds of Panchatattva. I'm not saying you should do that, but I'm not saying you shouldn't do it either. That's up to you. But just to show how important it is to take shelter of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. And their pastimes are mentioned throughout the scriptures, especially in the scripture here, Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavan, Lochan Dasta, of course, Chaitanya Mangala. If we hear the glories of Gauranitai and their mercy upon the fallen conditioned souls, we can really understand this process of bhakti. They make everything easily understandable. So this is the special position in this age to approach the holy name of the Lord, is to approach that holy name by glorifying, as it says, Bhakti Siddhanta says, Guru Gauranga. And what he says, Nityananda Chaitanya, and he says, Guru Gauranga. So interesting, he's referring in one sense to Lord Nityananda as Guru. And he is also Guru. What is that song? Bore suke kobo gai, boro suke kobo gai, sura bikunde che, namera kule che, koda nitai. Koda means merchant, right? Yeah, merchant. So what does Nityananda do? He goes everywhere and anywhere. He opens up a shop. He's a vanik. He's a merchant, and he's got a product and he's selling it, and you got to pay for it. What is that? What is that product? He's selling the holy name. Now, how can he sell the holy name? But he says, if you have $5, you can get $5 worth of the holy name. If you have $20, then you get that much. So he's pretty much making it sound like a nice business deal. But what is that currency? It's not dollars or pounds or euros or rupees. It's faith. How much faith do you have? And that faith can be strengthened when we worship Gauranitai. So Lord Nityananda is going everywhere. And we hear how when Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda were in Navadvip, Lord Chaitanya sent Nityananda to go from house to house. He said, ask everyone to chant Hare Krishna. Lord Nityananda got excited. He joined with Haridas Thakur and they went out. They would knock on the people's door. People would say, oh, Nitai, you're here. Yes. How can we serve you? Oh, well, I've come to give you something that you've been needed. You actually need. What is that? Chant Hare Krishna. But Nityananda, we got so many things to do. We got family, we got this business, so many things. We don't have any time. And people would say no time. When Prabhupada was in Delhi before he came to America, he was writing his Back to Godhead newsletter. It was like 1 page each side. And one time, and after he would write a particular topic, and he would go to the Delhi tea stalls and try for, get a few pints for his paper. And then he would go and approach the people while they were sitting in the tea stalls. And they would say, oh, Swamiji, what you're doing is nice, but we have no time. So Prabhupada was hearing that a lot, no time. So one time he wrote one article called No Time. time for everything, but the most important thing is I have no time. That's the patheticness of the conditioned souls. They don't see their own real wealth right in front of them, which is the worship of the Supreme Lord. And therefore, to actually bring people to Krishna consciousness, you really need a lot of, what we say, enthusiasm, or you have to be fixed in your own practice of Krishna consciousness. So Nityananda was going place to place to place, and some success, others no success. And then at one point, Lord Nityananda thought, who can we give this mercy to that's the least qualified to receive it? And so they were thinking, and then they asked the townspeople. The townspeople pointed, over there, you see those two guys? They're the sheriffs, Madhavananda and Jagadananda. We know them as Jagai and Madhai. They're always drunk on strong liquors. And nobody can go near them. They use bad language and they're always chasing people. So we think, they're the worst, but you shouldn't go over there, it's too dangerous. Nityananda thought this is the best opportunity. If I can give the mercy of Lord Chaitanya to them, how glorious Lord Chaitanya would be. So him and Haridas Thakur, they approached. They stayed at a distance away. And then Nityananda called out, hey, you two brothers, Lord Chaitanya has come with the mercy of the holy name, so please chant Hare Krishna. Direct preaching. So they stopped beating each other up, which they usually do when they were drunk. And then they looked, and then Madhai got really angry and said, get him! So they start running after Lord Nityananda and Haridas. So Haridas and Lord Nityananda start running away. And Lord Nityananda is running and he's laughing. And Haridas Thakur is not laughing. He says, I've been beaten in 22 marketplaces, but somehow I survived. Now I've been associating with you. I don't know what my future will be. So the day ended, they went back to Lord Chaitanya to give their Sankirtan scores. And so when they were there, Haridas Thakur said to Lord Chaitanya, this Nitai, he likes to associate with drunkards. And Advaita Acharya was there and he said, yes, drunkards like to associate with other drunkards. But Lord Nityananda, he's drunk, but he's not drunk on liquors, he's drunk on the happiness of chanting Hare Krishna. And so the next day, they went back to give these two fallen souls another opportunity. Again, they petitioned him to chant the holy name. This time, Madhai got really angry, picked up a broken clay pot and flung it at Lord Nityananda with full force and hit him in the head. And then his head started to bleed. When the townspeople saw that, they ran and called Lord Chaitanya, and he came, and he was like Yamaraj, or maybe Nrsingadev. And he came, and he manifested 4 arms, and he called his chakra, and he was ready to kill both of them on the spot. But then Jagai ran and fell at the feet of Lord Chaitanya, and seeing that he was actually the Supreme Lord, he was begging for mercy. The Lord stopped, because he could see Jagai was really serious. And then Jagai started blaming Madhai for everything. We do that sometimes. We do something wrong, but we think, it wasn't my fault, he made me do it. It was due to his influence. So that was like that. So then Lord Chaitanya had his chakra there, but Lord Nityananda stopped him. He said, actually, in this age, my dear Lord, we've come to kill the mentality, not to kill their actual bodies. Balaram and Krishna were there, they were killing the demons wholesale. But in this age, if you kill the demons, then there's nobody left. It's pretty much just the age of Kali. Kala Sutra Sambhavam. So, Lord Chaitanya stopped, and then Lord Nityananda forgave both of them. And then Madai fell at the feet of Lord Nityananda and started actually begging forgiveness and started actually crying, feeling very bad he had caused harm to Lord Nityananda. And at that point, Lord Chaitanya manifested supreme mercy. And then all of the sinful activities, and it's described in that pastime that Yamaraj, he's watching this whole pastime, and he knows who these two fellows are. He says to his secretary, Chandragupta, what is the sins of Jagai and Madai? Chandragupta is the leading scribe who keeps track of all of the sinful activities of the conditioned souls. And he said, my dear Yamaraj, my dear master, we've just hired 30 new scribes, and we're already 3 months behind in calculating their sinful activities. Yamaraj was so, amazed to see the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda upon these two. He fainted. Now, Yamaraj is really a sober person, but he fainted. His heart was so much overwhelmed to see how much mercy the Lord actually showed. And so then, of course, all of the sinful activities that the Jagai and Madai had committed came into the body of Lord Chaitanya, and his golden body became black. And then Lord Advaitacharya was there. He said, my dear Lord, you look like Krishna. And then Lord Chaitanya said something very profound. He said, anyone who offends Vaishnavas will get the sinful reactions of Jagai and Madai upon them. Pretty heavy. So he gave a very strong, warning that one should be very diligent and very careful not to commit Vaishnava Aparadh, because it destroys one's bhakti very fast. And Lord Chaitanya also has said in other places, I give my mercy fully if you do two things. You chant the holy names of the Lord regularly with devotion, and you don't find fault with Vaishnavas. If you do these two things, my mercy is there, like that. So he gave this, and he makes it, you might say he makes it easy. Krishna was not so easy, because Krishna, to approach Krishna means to approach the Supreme Pure. Although Lord Chaitanya is Krishna, he's not in the mood of Krishna. He's in the mood of Radharani, which is the mood of extra mercy. Radharani she is Bhakti Devi. She's the compassionate nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So she's very kind to all of the children, that's us, by allowing us to approach the Lord through the process of chanting the holy name. Therefore, when we chant the holy name, we say Hare Krishna. Hare is always first. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. So we have Hare 8 times, Krishna 4 times, and Rama 4 times. So what is Rama? Rama also refers to Krishna as Radhika Raman, like that. So the whole Maha Mantra is simply the transcendental names of Radha and Krishna. And it is the Maha Mantra. It's the greatest of all mantras. There's no rules, no regulations and restrictions, but the scriptures do say one needs to get first to worship Gaur-Nitai before they can actually open up their devotion through the process of chanting Hare Krishna. So we have to approach the holy names through the mercy of Gaur-Nitai, like that. By chanting Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Panchatattva-makam Krishnam Bhakta-rupa Sarupakam Bhakta-avatarham Bhakta-khyam Namami Bhakta-shaktikam. Yeah, that the Absolute Truth has manifested itself in 5 features of itself. And those 5 features include all of the aspects of the Absolute Truth in 5 personalities. So yeah, this is the mercy in this age. That's why they say Kali Yuga, although it's such a degraded age, it's the best age for worshiping the Lord, because the Lord has made it easy through the chanting of Hare Krishna. Okay, so Hare Krishna. Any comments, questions? Yadunandana. It's not Yadunandana, it's
Jadava Acharya.
Yadavacharya. Okay, got it.
This is very nice, Maharaj. This is always Krishna's mercy. I can hear what you're saying because every day I get up, I chant early in the morning. I chant my 16 rounds, but I never feel complete because I know that I'm a sinful soul and my chanting is always offensive. But what you just read in that verse clarifies what I need to focus, that the rest of the day I should be chanting Gaur-Nitai. Gaur-Nitai.
Pray to Gaur-Nitai. We can pray directly for their mercy.
And without offense. And that way we can always be able to hear, and eventually it will take us to the point of offenseless chanting.
Yeah, you're very kind.
Very nice, thank you. And I remember that audio of Prabhupada when he was thinking, he was saying they were very kind. If you have not heard that, you should listen, because it was hearing that Prabhupada was hearing the feeling of the rasa of hearing and how merciful Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda really are.
Yeah, and he always says you can never understand. Even Lord Chaitanya took 2 dogs back together.
I'll be the 3rd dog.
Yeah. We're still barking,
Yeah.
looking for some bones in this material world. Anyone else would like to pray?
I have a question, but we have to. She has to go, so I came with her, so I have to go. But my question was about other paramparas where they don't know Gaur-Nitai, but they are worshipping Radha Krishna. So we say in our line that only through Gaur-Nitai we can approach Radha Krishna.
That's what it says.
But what about Sri Sampradaya and other Sampradayas? They don't know Gaur-Nitai.
But they don't. They worship Krishna in the Vaikuntha mood.
Okay, so I can stay.
You with that?
No, I can stay because she's going. So.
Okay. Yeah. Sri Sampradaya, they worship Lakshmi Narayan. They worship in the mood of Vaikuntha. Lord Chaitanya has opened the door to Goloka Vrindavan, which has never been opened in previous ages. In fact, even the other Kali Yugas, you cannot approach Vrindavan. Lord Chaitanya, or the incarnation in the other previous yugas, the Kali Yugas, is Gaur Narayan. So he teaches up to Vaikuntha, that's all. So most of the other ones, except for the, what is that one sampradaya that worships Krishna near Vrindavan, Nimbarkacharya. Yeah. The Nimbarkacharya had direct association with Lord Chaitanya. He came as, what was that, his name was that? The one that Lord Chaitanya defeated in a debate. No, when Keshava Kashmiri. Yeah, he prepared in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes as Keshava Kashmiri. So he got the direct mercy of Lord Chaitanya.
So Vallabhacharya came as Keshav Kashmir.
Not Vallabhacharya. Was it Vallabhacharya?
Vallabhacharya is Shukdev Goswami.
Huh?
Yeah.
Brihaspati, right? Keshav Kashmiri.
Keshav Kashmir is Brihaspati.
Who is the head of the Chatushushana, the four Kumaras? That is Nimbarka. Yeah, Nimbarka. Yeah. So he appeared as Keshava Kashmiri. Nimbarka. Yes.
Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Prabhupada. So this is a very, as you said, heavy class in the sense that there's so much for us to take away. So right in the beginning you said, any materialistic activity will elicit a sinful reaction.
That's the broader definition which Prabhupada gives.
Right.
To say that if you're not following the laws of God, you're sinful.
So we see that the Christians eat meat. They eat fish, meat, eggs, everything. But still they claim they're pious Christians, they're propagating their doctrines, etc., etc. And even their leaders are meat eaters. So how is this
These are
acceptable?
features of Kali Yuga, that's all. Because they're not following their own tradition. Jesus Christ, Prabhupada said, Jesus Christ was a pure devotee, but he didn't teach pure devotional service. He taught mixed devotional service because, as he said, there's so much more I could tell you, but you're not ready for it. So he was teaching something less. He was teaching worship the Supreme Lord as your Father, and follow these simple rules. That's all. He doesn't get into the higher aspects of bhakti, the different rasas, the moods like that. Although some of that is in there in Christianity. The Song of Solomon is also in the mood of Madhurya Ras. But they don't emphasize that. They've compromised their principles. And therefore they accepted political and economic trends that have appeared throughout the history of Christianity and minimized many of their important. The early Desert Fathers also believed in reincarnation, but you don't hear that nowadays in Christianity. There's even statements about that in the early biblical fathers about reincarnation. But that was taken out of the Bible in 555 BC by King Justinian. He took it out because his wife, she said that actually if you teach that, that means people will not be serious about practicing spiritual life. They'll think I'll get another life. So they took it out. They took it out. They burnt a lot of the books too. A lot of Christians' books were destroyed. Christianity was actually a very powerful religion, but now it's been somewhat compromised by political and social principles that have been adopted. Even now they separate church and state. So, but unfortunately, yeah, it's a compromised principle now.
But Maharaj, in Christianity there are pure devotees.
Yeah.
Besides Jesus Christ, I heard Saint Francis.
Saint Francis was a great. Well, there are many also.
Few.
Saint Anthony.
Yeah, and then they may eat meat. Muslims may eat meat. Atheists may eat meat. But Hare Krishna devotees, they may not eat meat. But there is meat eating tendencies there inside in subtle form.
Well,
For
with Saint Francis, he did Madhukari. He never carried any food, and him and his brothers would beg. And then whatever people would give them, they would accept, even if it was meat, because they said whatever we get is coming from God. So he accepted it that way.
That was one point. What point I was trying to make was, even Hare Krishna devotees, they give up meat, 4 great principles. But the gross things are gone, but the subtle things are there, even, at least for me. The devotees struggle with the subtle things of 4 regulative principles.
Well, yeah, profit, adoration, distinction.
Yeah, name, fame, power, influence, and control, that is there.
That's even there in our society.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So now, sometimes they're eating meat, but I'm also doing something in a different way.
Yeah, so don't give up. The point is, it's a process of purification. First, you give up the gross sinful activities, and then you have to work on the more subtle ones, which are harder even to detect.
Yeah.
That's why association with devotees helps us to become aware of our more subtle contaminations, and helps us also to understand how to work to get rid of it. Therefore, by associating and serving devotees, we can get over this false ego.
Well, that question, because you have a question.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say the original author was the Egyptian, and his name was Origin. And he wrote how the living entity falls into the material world, and then he goes through the process of transmigration of the soul. So that word that we use, origin, is coming directly from that. And that's who was during the conference of Nicaea, that, as you explained, was that part was taken out. Origin.
Yeah, that's historically documented.
Starting with the class, you mentioned a beautiful point from the purport. Hare Krishna devotees has to go deeper in Krishna consciousness. So what do you mean the deeper? People are chanting, hearing, association, serving, all things going on. But the going deeper, what does it mean?
Well, I think that was illustrated by Raghunath Das Goswami, that there is the esoteric and then there's the exoteric. The exoteric is what you do. You chant, you read, you serve, you associate, you worship. But anybody can do that and still fake it. But the internal mood you can't fake. So the internal mood is to take this process into the heart and develop that mood of bhakti within your own heart. That cannot be faked. So Raghunath Das Goswami in his Manashiksha, he explains how to go into that mood, that internal mood, by focusing our attention on the activities of the residents of Vrindavan, such as he says, can you explain? You explained it nicely the other day.
He is trying to cajole the mind, he's trying to beseech the mind. He says, "Oh mind, I beseech you with sweet words that please give up all pride and develop unprecedented love for Sri Guru, the divine couple, the cows of Vrindavan, the residents of Vrindavan, all Vaishnavas everywhere, the holy name, the Maha Mantra, the Gayatri Mantra, and develop pure devotion to the divine couple in Vraj." That's the first verse as I remember it. And Raghunath Das Goswami also says that sometimes we may have to be very stern with the mind, and we may have to rein the mind in. So he gives different ways of trying to bring the mind under control, because we can't always, catch the mind and make it do what it wants, what we want it to do. So we have to train the mind slowly in different ways to come onto the path of bhakti. So that's the description of the different.
Yeah, so he's helping us develop that internal mood by focus on these aspects of Vrindavan. Bring the mind to Vrindavan.
Yato Nistalati. Yato Nistalati. The first part is wherever and whenever the mind may wander.
Wanders.
You keep flipping us steady.
Bring it back under the control. But he's actually take that mind to Vrindavan. So in that treatise of Manasiksha, for the first 3 verses, he's focusing on the positive. And the next 4 verses, he tells us what to avoid. You know, lust, anger, greed, illusion, pride, envy, like that. And deceit, deceitfulness. That one can even cheat oneself thinking one's a great devotee simply because of doing the external activities. But it's an affair of the heart. But the internal mood cannot be cheated. If it's there, it's there. If it's not there, it's not there. So going deeper means going into that mood of bringing all of these aspects of Vrindavan into our heart in terms of the practice of devotion service. Meditating on these things, like thinking about these things and worshiping just in that mood. And not simply just performing the external activities of chanting and reading and doing that. So that's just it's doing the same thing, but taking it into the heart. But he focuses on Vrindavan because actually he is a resident of Vrindavan. Manasiksha is a really nice, you might say, very direct way to help us go in deeper into the mood of Vrindavan.
So Maharaj, so it's a controlling mind is not Krishna consciousness. It's a controlling mind consciousness. This I also heard. Controlling mind is mind consciousness, not Krishna consciousness. But if it can connect to Krishna, then Krishna
Well,
consciousness.
controlling the mind and directing it.
Yeah. So ultimately, it also says that in Bhagavatam somewhere. So mind is the Krishna's energy. We cannot control. It's a Krishna who does for us because of our prayer.
Krishna helps.
Yeah, Krishna helps to control because mind is his energy. Who can control his energy?
You can't control the mind, but you, and Raghunath Das Goswami tells you where to direct your mind.
Yeah.
The mind has to be active in some form, just directed in the way towards the mood of Vrindavan. That's what he's saying. The cows, what were the listings you made? She listed the whole first, all of the things in the first verse. The cows, the divine couple, and then of course he also mentions Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, like that. Think about them also in their devotion to Krishna and Vrindavan, like that. The Gayatri Mantra, which is Guru Mantra, the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mantra also, all of these things. But he says give up pride. He includes that in the first verse, this idea of pride, that I'm such a great devotee.
On this
There's a
topic,
nice verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita. It says that those who have love for Krishna, they think they don't have any love for Krishna. Those who make spiritual advancement, they feel that they're not really devotees.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Well, yeah. What is it? Bhakti Vinod Thakur says, Amara Jivan Save Pape Rate Nahi Puye Lalesa. Yeah. So, he's actually a great soul, but he's saying, Amara Jivan Save Pape Rate. My life is so sinful. And he's not making some eulogy or trying to attract attention by some false humility. He's actually feeling like that. So when a devotee will think, the more I make progress in devotional service, the more fallen I actually understand I am. We remember in the old days of Krishna consciousness, when we first joined the temple, we were there for a year, we were doing everything enthusiastically. Then we were thinking, I must be a pure devotee by now. We used to call it PDS, remember that one? PDS? Pure Devotional Syndrome. And after the second year, the whole thing is different. You start realizing you're not where you thought you were. So yeah, the idea is that, you know, the Lord Chaitanya teaches this mood. That knowledge makes you more aware of how deep you are in attraction for this material. So it's something it's called like trying to clean coal. It never gets clean. But because even the finer elements of material attachments are so hard to even understand what to speak about, to uproot. But you get an indication in association of devotees. If somebody starts praising you, you start thinking, yeah, they got it right.
Finally, they got.
My efforts have actually shown results. But that's like, whoa. Your chart has to shut that down. You just wanted to say something, yeah?
Yeah, I just would like to ask if you, in your opinion, in your spiritual opinion, if you believe that people, that we could live in the world, but we don't have to be of the world, and how would that equate to secular and spiritual in Krishna consciousness verbiage?
It's a matter of consciousness, that's all. Yeah. To be in worldly consciousness. Worldly consciousness can be defined in a very simplified. Whatever I do, I'm looking for some gain. In spiritual life, it's not about gain, it's about pleasing the object that you're performing the activity for. So that's the difference. If you're looking for any kind of results, either some praise or some remuneration for whatever you do, that's worldly consciousness. But devotional service means I serve in the mood of trying to please the object of my service. And if that person, if that object is pleased, that is my success, that is my happiness. That's bhakti. So we're trying to serve the spiritual master, we're trying to serve the devotees, we're trying to serve the Supreme Lord. And if they're pleased by our activities, then we make progress, we purify our heart, and we actually become happy. But if we're thinking, you know, I have to do this program and how much donations am I going to get for the program? This house doesn't give me as much donation as this other house. I think I'll go there. You know, sometimes you think like, oh, okay, here I am in a rich person's house. How much is he going to give me for my class today? Then you realize, oh, that's Maya. But then you think, well, Maya's not so bad, you know. So, you know, the mind can justify anything and make it seem like it's spiritual. But actually, it's just another feature of personal desire, personal gain. But we gain something even greater than anything material when we open up our heart and we actually experience the happiness that is situated within our own heart. That is the process of bhakti.
That's Maharaj. That's sort of like with I was just listening to Lord Nrsingadev ask Prahlad. He was asking him, now you can ask me anything that you want. And Prahlad said, what do you think, I'm some type of businessman?
Right.
I didn't come here for business. I'm doing this because I love you, period.
Yeah, that's a good example. And the Lord was really pleased with that. Yeah. Okay, so, thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Prabhupada ki
As we announce books, if somebody is interested, please you can.
Maharaj also can sign the book.